So let's try to prepare. Let's try to enjoy the sweetness of Torah as we prepare. We're going to ask a few riddles. I'll ask you to unmute your mics, or the host to unmute you. And we're going to ask crowd participation. Let's ask a few interesting riddles. Let's start with the first one. Unfortunately, today, many people are in quarantine, either because they lost their job and they don't have a reason to get out of the house, or because they're not allowed to go out. People are sick. People have to be quarantined for different reasons. But let me ask you, my friends, who has to stay home the entire Chol HaMoed, whether Sukkot or Pesach, even when there's no COVID-19? What do you say, my friends? Who has to stay home even when there's no COVID-19? Who has to be quarantined throughout Chol HaMoed? He feels great, 100%. He didn't make a vow, never going to leave the house, and yet, who has to stay home during the whole Chol HaMoed? What do you say, my friends?
You can unmute yourself if you want to answer. Anybody want to answer?
Not everybody together.
I guess everybody's... Oh. The Bacher? Who's the Bacher? Okay.
Now, we're going to say the answer. The answer is found in Leket HaKemach of Moshe Chagis in Yoredea Siben Kuf Lamed Ches. On Chol HaMoed, one is not allowed to get a haircut. But there are some reasons why one would get a heter from the Rav, person who was released from jail. Different reasons why a person was not able to get a haircut before Yontif. He is allowed to get a haircut on Chol HaMoed. A person like this, says the Leket HaKemach, who got a heter to get a haircut during Chol HaMoed should stay home. Because people may look at him and say, oh, well, wait a second. If he's allowed to get a haircut, I guess you're really allowed to get a haircut on Chol HaMoed. And this may cause a stumbling block to other people. Therefore, says like a takemach, if you got a heter to get a haircut on Chol HaMoed, stay home. We are right in between Purim and Pesach. So I have a few crumbs left over from Purim. Let's ask a question which is relevant to Purim and to Pesach. And again, please unmute yourself if you think you have the answer or think you have the answer. How is it possible? A very strange question. How is it possible to eat Esther Hamalka, and with that, to fulfill the obligation to eat Maror on Pesach? Let me repeat it because it sounds very strange. How is it possible to eat Esther Hamalka, and by doing so, your yoytze, your obligation, you just fulfilled your obligation to eat Maror on Pesach? Anyone have a clue?
I think it talks about it in the Megillah, right? That Mordechai said, Kasher avadati avadati, right?
I think Esther said Kasher avadati avadati, but
yeah, but Mordechai was also, you have more deror, you have the hint in the parsh, in the Chumash, right? Does it come from Morer?
But that comes from Mordor, is actually perfume.
Oh, perfume, okay.
But did you ever try eating Esther Hamalka?
Esther Hamalka, I ain't eat her.
Our question is, how is it possible for one to eat Esther Hamalka, and with that to be yoytze, eating Maror on Pesach? The very surprising answer is found in Meleches Shlomo. Meleches Shlomo is a Rav Ba'adani from Yemen, hundreds of years ago, on the Mishnah and Masechet Psochim Perek Beis, Mishnah Vav. The Mishnah counts the 5 different species that one can use for maror. We can use lettuce. The Mishnah says, Tamcha and Charchavina, strange names that we're not familiar with. What is Charchavina? Says the Meleches Shlomo. It's a plant that we, back in Yemen, call Esther Hamalka. And if that's the case, if you eat Charchavina, which is one of the 5 species that you're allowed to eat for maror, which really is called Esther Hamalka, if you eat Esther Hamalka, you're yoytze eating maror on Pesach. Another question. It's a little easier. In the Haggadah Shel Pesach, we mentioned names of different places. Can you name 4 different places in Eretz Yisrael, different cities in Eretz Yisrael, which people live in today? 4 different ones in the Haggadah Shel Pesach? What do you say, my friends?
Bnei Brak is definitely one.
Bnei Brak is one, and Bnei Brak is easy. We only have 3 to go.
Okay, I'll let other people answer the other one.
You're kind.
Anybody else with the answer?
Lud.
Where is Lud? Where is Lud in the Haggadah Shel Pesach? I'm not sure. It appears in my version of the Haggadah.
In Akko.
Is Akko in the Haggadah Shel Pesach?
Yes.
Where?
It says one of them was Mesubim in Akko.
In Bnei Brak.
Are you sure?
I think so. Last time I checked. And that was the first answer we got, which is correct. Bnei Brak is one of the 4, but what is the other 3?
Yeah, but the story that happened in Bnei Brak also happened in Lud.
But in the Haggadah Shel Pesach or in the Gemara? We are looking for 4 places in Eretz Yisrael which appear in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, which we say every year.
Looks like
Yavne?
Yerushalayim, Sebi said.
Is Yavne in Haggadah Shel Pesach?
No, Yerushalayim.
Yerushalayim is, because in benching we say Uvene Yerushalayim.
Right.
Excellent. But there are 2 more. And these were the 2 easy ones, Bnei Brak and Yerushalayim.
Right.
In benching, another one. It's a kibbutz about 45 minutes south of Yerushalayim. It's called Komemius. V'soilichenu Komemius. They make great matzahs, by the way, in that kibbutz. And the other one is in Hallel. Rosh
Pina. Rosh Pina.
Pina. Good job. Up north. So we have 4 places. That's right. We have another riddle. Are you ready for another riddle, Boisai? On Leila Seder, we have to leave over the flavor, the taste of matzah in our mouths. When is it, other than Leila Seder, that there's an inyan to leave over the flavor of whatever you ate, bread or matzah, in your mouth? You ate a moitzi. Sephardim year-round don't say hamoitzi over matzah. They only say mezonis. Only Leila Seder they do say hamoitzi. But Ashkenazim say hamoitzi both matzah or bread. So let's talk about Ashkenazim or a Sephardi who eats bread. When is there an inyan? Throughout the year, just like in Leila Seder, to leave over the taste of the moitzi, the bread, after the meal. Any idea?
Not Sukkot, right?
Not necessarily Sukkot, no.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be a yontif.
Not with kashrus, basar ben chalav.
No. We're talking about people who don't make mistakes. They eat only the right thing at all times, and yet. It's a very surprising answer and a very underrated Mishnah Berurah. It appears in the Mishnah Berurah in Siman Kuf Samech Zayin, Seif Kotten Sadi Zayin, and the Mishnah Berurah brings from the Shloh HaKodesh that a person should always leave over from the slice of the moitzi to the end of the meal in order to have the flavor of the moitzi in his mouth, whatever it is, bread or matzah, whatever you ate. This applies every single time you eat. It can happen 2-3 times a day throughout the year. It's a chiddush, but it's a Mishnah Berurah from the Shloh HaKodesh. The only difference between Pesach is in Pesach you must, and you can't eat anything after. Here, the rest of the year, it's a great idea to do this. It's an inyan, but that is the answer to our question. Let's ask another riddle. 2 more to go. You're doing great. Let's hear another answer here. Listen, there's a Yid who is having chametz in his house on Pesach. The chametz belongs to him. He didn't sell it, and yet he doesn't have to nullify the chametz, even though it's in his house. It's his. He feels great. The doctor didn't tell him to eat chametz. He's not going to eat it. Didn't make any neder, no vows, and yet he doesn't need it to nullify the chametz in his house. Can this be? What do you say, my friends? Can such a strange thing happen?
Can you repeat the question? I don't know.
Sure. Ayid, we're going to call it Reuven, our friend, has bread in his house, has cereal, has cakes, real deal chametz, and we're going to tell him, you don't have to nullify it. But he says, but I didn't sell my chametz. We say, it's okay. You don't have to nullify it. He feels 100%. He doesn't have to eat this chametz because of pikuach nefesh or anything like that. He's doing great, and he's not going to eat it. But he doesn't have to nullify the chametz. It belongs to him, and he doesn't need to nullify it. Can this be?
He's not home?
I'm sorry?
If he's not home,
He's home.
he sees it.
Oh, yeah.
You put Clorox on it.
It's the real deal. He sees it in front of him on the table, and he doesn't have to nullify it.
Is it Play-Doh?
I'm sorry?
They waited to know if it was
Is
Play-Doh.
it food?
If it was what?
Is
Play-Doh.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Play-Doh. You know, the thing people play with.
He doesn't know what that is.
No, I know what Play-Doh is. My kids used to play with it. It's the real deal chametz, bread and cakes and cereal.
You put Clorox on it. You put soap on it.
No, it's fantastic bread that potentially if somebody would eat it, they would enjoy it. The very
Is it a
surprising answer.
Is it in a place in his house that he never goes to and he'll never go to?
It's in his house, right next to him on the table. The answer is in the Machne Chaim. In Chelik Gimel Simen Lamed Aleph, he has an interesting chakira. Other than don't eat chametz, we have another prohibition of Baal Yerai. Shouldn't have any chametz during Pesach. But the Torah says, don't have any chametz for 7 days. What about a person who converted in the middle of Pesach? 4 days into Pesach, he comes and he converts. Could be, says the Machne Chaim, that this Baal Yerai is only if you have a 7-day period. That's what the Torah talked about. Obviously, he's still not allowed to eat it, but it could be that Baal Yerai only applies to 7 days, and therefore, if he converted in the middle of Pesach, he won't have to sell his chametz, and that is a tremendous chiddush. And maybe now, even a more amazing chiddush, how is it possible? Sixth and final riddle. How can it be that you are allowed to eat chametz on Pesach from the Torah? We're not talking about pikuach nefesh. We're talking about a big amount, not in a mixture, no Play-Doh, and yet one will be allowed to eat chametz on Pesach from the Torah. Can this ever happen?
If they're sick,
He is 100% healthy, just had his annual, and the doctor says he's doing great.
He's in the middle of the desert and there's no other food.
Of course, pikuach nefesh, he must eat it. But he's not in the desert, he's at home, he feels great, and yet, min ha-Torah, he's allowed to eat the chametz. Can this be?
Maybe
a dashan, chadash,
I'm sorry?
a
it's
chola.
chadash.
So you're allowed to eat chametz if it's chadash? After the Torah warned, thou shalt stay away from chametz, it's kares.
I'm talking about a chola.
I'm sorry?
A chola?
A choile, of course, is allowed to, if this is what's going to keep him around, we're going to give him a lot of chametz, but we're talking about a healthy individual. So those who learn Daf Yomi may remember Rashi in Masechet Psochim Daf Chaf Tes Amud Aleph about 2.5 months ago, and Rashi understands in the opinion of Rav Acha Bar Yaakov, the opinion explaining Rabbi Yehuda, that one is allowed to eat chametz belonging to a goy min ha-Torah during Pesach. And obviously, midirabanan, one is not allowed to do so. But according to this opinion, min ha-Torah, one would be allowed to. And the Achronim ask, wait a second, how is this possible? Because as soon as you pick up the chametz to eat it, you acquire it. If you acquire it, it's yours. It's not the goy, so it's asu.
Right.
And many Achronim explain in different ways, but one of the understandings is that the goy comes and he shoves it down your throat, so you never acquired it. And even according to this, you will still not be able to do so midirabanan. And another answer, chametz belonging to hekdesh. If a person eats chametz belonging to hekdesh on Pesach, he does not transgress eating chametz on Pesach. He does transgress benefiting from hekdesh, and that is a terrible thing to do. One is not allowed to do so. but he doesn't get two for the price of one. He only transgresses Isur Hana'a Mehegdesh.